Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to episode 159 of the Hoots podcast. It's Thursday, June 6, 2019. Hope you guys are having a wonderful week. We're about 2 weeks away from Father's Day, so if you haven't got your early gifts and stuff for your old man, even your grandfathers, even if you didn't grow up with it, Dad, go get your father some gifts. I know it's a couple weeks, but still. Do something nice for the men in your life that's helped you out through your life. Anyways, welcome to the program, everybody. My name's Joshie. You can find me on Twitter and Instagram at the Hoots Podcast. I am alongside the Clown Prince, Adam Daley. What's going on, brother?
Hey, Josh, what's going on? Listen, so it's officially June. I think it's our first June show, right? Yes, it is. Sir. Yep. So happy Pride Month. It's something that last month we hit up mental health awareness. This month it's I think about time that we shed a light on the LGBTQ community. So happy Pride to anyone out there that is going to be celebrating this month. My daughter and I are going to be going to Pittsburgh's parade this Sunday. So if you're down there, you can find the real superstar her down there with me. Yeah, man, just listen. In the end, love wins. So, and if you don't like it, we got 2 words for you. So, but back to you, Josh.
I want to give a quick shout out to my older sister Alex and her girlfriend Candace, who are out in Sacramento right now. I don't know when their parade is out there in California. I have to look it up, but give a shout really quick to my older sister. Anyways, folks, welcome to the program. Just a couple of business stuff to get out of the way. As always, thank you for the support for the shows every single week. We had a lot of good feedback from last week's episode, which was pretty cool. A lot of cool feedback for the interview I got to do with Ant, who's recording his final episode of Rant with Ant this weekend. So, again, to the good brother. Thanks for everybody who took the time to respond and gave their thoughts about the podcast, because it was very cathartic and just kind of reflecting on the process of being content creators and some of the weird pressures that even for people that host shows that you have to put to yourself where we're promoting the brand and this stuff. And at the end of the day, this platform is not important to ruin your inner energy. And I'm glad that he's making the decision to move on and do his own thing. And he's going to bring in another daughter later on this year, which is cool. And Ant's going to move on to the next chapter of his life, so I'm happy for him. So it was a very, very cool podcast. If you haven't had the chance to listen to it, make sure to subscribe to our feeds on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Play, and all the other places. By the way, Adam, I don't know if you saw this or not, but there's no more iTunes.
There is no more. Is it just Apple Music now?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, I thought they were doing a soft changeover or something like that. So it's like Apple Podcasts and Apple Music now, right?
Apple.
Yeah, no more I. There is no I in team, Josh, but apparently there's a bit in Apple.
Yeah, that's true. One more thing I wanted to plug really quick: ProWrestlingTranscriptions.com coming up this Sunday. I'll be transcribing the 2019 edition of Dominion. Very excited for that pay-per-view. This is New Japan's second biggest show of the year. This is kind of a prelude to their big G1 Climax tournament, which I'm sure is going to make my schedule even more busier than it already is. But anyways, I'm excited for that show. Okada against the Painmaker, Chris Jericho. So you got Rainmaker versus Painmaker. I'm very excited to see where these go. Jon Moxley just showed up at the finals of the Best of Super Junior show yesterday and captured the IWGP United States Heavyweight Championship. It would be something, man, to these two big names that AEW got can walk out this weekend with championships. I'm not saying it's going to happen or it's not going to happen, but it's a possibility, and I think that's pretty cool.
It's creating man, I'll admit I was the first one to just say, you know what, let's because I thought it was it's a fair statement. Let's let the process play out, not only with AEW, but because everyone was either jumping the gun early, you were jumping on a wagon early just to ride a wagon, and and I just kept promoting it'd be nice if everything was successful. Everything was successful. Right. Let's just call it like it is. AEW right now is legit. I mean, it is absolutely. I think and they're with their talent being able to go into New Japan, and New Japan knowing that putting a championship on Jon Moxley is, regardless of how he's signed or whatever his contract may be, it's better for their business right now, because he's such a hot commodity. So this is really starting to help out AEW more than we realize, because we're not in the locker room. We're not, we're going to talk about, I actually got a chance to listen to the Moxley Jericho podcast. I just have a couple thoughts on it. We'll get to that in a minute, but this really is the wrestling landscape is kind of changing somewhat. And it really is happening right before our eyes. We kind of saw it a couple years ago with WWE. But this is something even, it's just different, and we'll talk about that later.
Right. And pay back to your point earlier, it's just very interesting that there's trying to manufacture this war between both brands, and it's more becoming a war in social media with one side of the fan base and the other side of the fan base. And I mean, if people want to have wars with each other on social media over wrestling, go knock your socks off. I'm not participating in it, and I don't have to be required to be put into this war or whatever that's trying to go on Twitter right now. So,
well, you know what, though? I don't even know if AEW is trying to create a war, because I think
I'm not saying the company is trying to make a war. I'm saying there's so much things with the Dirt Sheet podcast and the Twitter bubble that so bad, and like it's whatever. I don't have to be enlisted to this war. I don't have to participate, so I really don't care.
Right? Yeah, I can sit back and enjoy both for what they are. You know what I mean? I don't have to delve into the pros and cons of each show by every particular person in 280 characters or less. So yeah, I'm good with that.
Right. And even if AEW wanted to take that risk and have their shows be on Monday night the same time as Raw, guess what? I don't have to change the channel because I'm not watching either show live. How about that?
Right. Yeah. I mean, I don't. It's not going to be for me. And and this is like no. And again, people always take this the wrong way, but I don't watch any television on live time. You know what I mean? Like I have a very busy life, professionally and personally. So but when I do have those pockets in those windows where I can fit stuff in, I preach it 168 hours, I mean, the fact that I still watch Raw and SmackDown every week, no disrespect to WWE, it has nothing to do with them. It's just because I love I love professional wrestling and sports entertainment that much. I'll make sure I get it in every week, but there's absolutely when I take 5 hours of programming and trim it down to maybe 2.5 tops, there's a reason for that. You know what I mean? And I make it enjoyable for myself. So I don't sit there and, everyone that everybody bitches about, I don't deal with it. I just, you know what I mean? I hit fast forward, Right. If you don't like the lyrics, you can hit fast forward.
All right, before we get into the Moxley interview, before every pay-per-view, there's always like these papers that come out, like different drinking games and this and that. You have different options. Take a shot every time Roman does the Superman punch. Take a shot of whatever you're drinking when Michael Cole says vintage during a match. I have a new one. Take a shot every time you hear an ad on a Wade Keller podcast. That's probably a dangerous idea, and as a straight edge guy, I probably would advise people to not partake in that, but also and you can sneeze and another ad will pop up about something revolving Pro Wrestling Torch. And I get it. I understand being part of the business. There's a term in the radio industry called mid-rolls, where you play ads in between different parts of the shows that you're recording. A lot of segments or a lot of radio shows are sponsored by different companies and they want to hear their ads. That's like, let's say like you're listening to a live radio show, right? You always hear those live reads before it, right before and towards the end of every segment. Every time before they go to the commercial break, they're like, okay, let me tell you something about On It, the supplement brand, or let me tell you about Blue Chew. all these different sponsorships, but man, I tried to listen to both parts of the Wade Keller interview with Jon Moxley. That was a lot of ads. Jericho had a slew of ads on his end too. I don't know, man. I get it. People want their money and do what you want to do, but as a listener being outside of it, like it's really hard to really divulge into a conversation like that when I'm being interrupted every 2.5 minutes for a different ad or for something that has nothing to do with what you guys are talking about. But
right,
hey, we gotta make your money, right?
well, no, yeah, you know what? That's the double-edged sword because you know what? They they have to get their money and they have to. That's what you work for is to get advertisers and get that kind of stuff. But when as a listener, when you are so invested in a conversation and you're so hanging on every word and listening to the back and forth, with the Jericho podcast because I didn't get to listen to all of Wade Keller's. And fortunately, I lucked out and caught a stream that all the commercials were cut out of on that one. And it was late. I didn't really get to listen to it as good as I wanted to. But as far as Jericho's go, there was a lot of parts where, the conversation was really flowing. He did a good job of picking certain points of where it was a good, like a nice pause. But yeah, it did a lot of times break the momentum of the conversation and the feel and the flow a little bit. But at the end of the day, it didn't really take away too much from it for me.
All right. So last week we talked about kind of like the media trying to take a lot of these sit down interviews and put them on trial, this, that. Now we can, since both of us have a chance to actually listen to it and have some context about it, we can actually talk about it without dishing out hot takes about
this. I hate hot takes.
So I'll start off here. First off, and I know Adam has a particular thing he wants to talk about when it comes to the Vince McMahon impressions and stuff. But here's a couple of takeaways I had from both the interviews that Moxley did with Wade Keller. I don't think it takes rocket science to understand that Brock Lesnar was already indifferent to his program for WrestleMania 32 beforehand. He wasn't main eventing that show. That was a couple months before his shitty UFC fight with Mark Hunt that he was getting so excited for his Octagon return. That whole program with Ambrose and Brock was a lose-lose, unfortunately, for Moxley, and he talked about how disappointing that was, where he would come up with different ideas of making this like the coolest hardcore match ever, yada, yada, yada. Moxley wanted to steal the show, this and that. It's rare that you have an opportunity to be a young guy at that time to have a match with the Brock Lesnar on that stage at WrestleMania. So I understand his frustration from that point of view. What did you think about that?
That's actually part of it that I didn't get to hear, and it's one of the parts that I was most interested in, but it was late, and again I was working, it was late, and it just certain things, the audio wasn't as great on the stream that I was listening to on YouTube or whatever. So I'd rather listen to that first before I comment on it, just because I don't, I didn't hear it in context, but I don't know, coming from, if it's similar to some of his frustrations that we'll talk about from the Jericho podcast, I don't want to, obviously I don't want to say I understand, because I'm not him, nobody's him, and nobody's in that, I'm not in that locker room. And I think it would take somebody to not only be in that locker room, but you would actually have to be Jon Moxley to truly understand, what your thought process and what was going on at that time. But listening to, I can understand, sense the frustration, then we'll just say that, of wanting to really do something and have it constantly shot down.
I found this interesting. This is nothing to do with Moxley. This actually has something to do with Jericho. I find it interesting that he still is harping on about the fact that him and Kevin Owens didn't main event the WrestleMania I went to in Orlando 33, and I was like, he mentions it in every interview he has with a guy who whether left the company or somebody else, or I even heard him talk about this on Busted Open Radio too, where he was upset that him and Owens, and yeah, I agree with what he was saying, that they did have the most entertaining feud of that show.
Yeah, he's completely
at the time period. At the same time, and here's the unfortunate thing, because I'm an Undertaker fan, And everybody was making out their WrestleMania to be like, oh, here's another thing to make Roman Reigns awesome and yada, yada, yada. No, this is Undertaker passing down the torch. Little did I know, a year later, he would come back and have a short match with John Cena. I bought that whole thing hook, line, and sinker. I thought this was it. I thought this was the last time I see Undertaker in a match. They brought in JR to call the show. If that was Undertaker's last match, yeah, he should have every right to close out that pay-per-view. If it was something where Jericho was upset that they weren't the Universal title match and he got passed over because they wanted to do Brock and Goldberg, okay, I understand it. Some people like Goldberg, some people don't. That's fine. I'm not a mark for Goldberg, but I actually enjoyed the run he had with WWE when he came back a couple years ago. Everybody knows how I felt about Brock Lesnar and this and that, but as much as it was entertaining and I love the stuff, the Festival of Friendship and this and that with Jericho and Owens, man, maybe he really felt like he needed to main event that WrestleMania again as validation. I don't know. Maybe he felt like he just needed another main event to solidify his WWE run because him and Punk didn't get to main event the one in Miami. I don't know.
I don't know if it's either of those things either. And I mean, none of us obviously will know, but I could even, I could flip it around a different way and to look at it a different lens and say that, in a way, that began the tarnishment of the Universal Championship. Period. It had criticisms right out of the box because of the color, which that was just people being petty and fickle. Let's just stop with that. But then when they were kind of starting to build some momentum with the championship, and let's face it, there wasn't anything better that year than Kevin Owens. And we talked about it on podcast. We talked about there was no better story than Kevin Owens and Chris Jericho that year. So I think it's a twofold scenario. One, I absolutely feel that there probably is some pride in there knowing that him and Owens did have the best program. And it's probably not, I think it might be less about him and more about Kevin Owens. Because maybe Vince doesn't see what he has in Kevin Owens. Now that and I'm not going to put Jon Moxley out there as like the savior and the voice of the disenfranchised and disillusioned in the locker room and stuff like that. I'm not going to be one of those guys that that like some people are doing out there. Mm-hmm. But we've heard this story from damn near every single person that's left the company from the time CM Punk cut his little, his podcast until now. And I know people don't want to compare because Moxley was much more diplomatic and very well mannered and just better about how he handled his departure versus how Punk did and how they carried themselves on the podcast. Listen, there's absolute similarities, sometimes down to damn near verbatim, but I just think Moxley used better words and he protected people better, where Punk just kind of unloaded, probably out of frustration or whatever. So, yeah, but I think from the Jericho standpoint, though, I think that's something that where, maybe it is there. I'm sure there were selfish reasons, but then you're also thinking about Kevin Owens and, and him and his family and what that could mean for his future. But, when you're around the business long enough, I feel like you understand that the fans really weren't clicking yet with that Universal Championship, and you leave it on, you make it Kevin Owens, Chris Jericho main event WrestleMania. That might change the fans' opinion of that title back then. Instead it went from Owens onto Goldberg, onto Lesnar, and it just vanished all over again. So it was like, wait, what did, and it almost made the work that Kevin Owens and Chris Jericho did, how hard they worked to make that title feel special after it kind of had so many obstacles anyway. I think maybe there's just not resentment, but I would be disappointed. That would for me, Josh, that actually would have been a point when you're a creative human being and you realize that's the what are you doing here moment, in my opinion. So I do understand Jericho's side of that, because I do think that when you look big picture, that absolutely should have main evented that pay-per-view. I think
hold up. But putting Goldberg and Brock aside, do you get what I'm saying with the Undertaker stuff?
Yeah, no, I mean, I get the Taker stuff too. But Yeah.
Like, I didn't know that he was gonna come out again next year. Everybody thought that was it. He put his hat on the ring. They had 3 gauntles to close out that pay-per-view. Everybody thought this was Undertaker's send-off. Like, you get where I'm coming from with that.
Yeah,
right?
I mean, I get that too, but this, I think that could have still been next time. I mean, you do have a lot of attractions on there, and in a way that's, and again, I don't think that, when Jericho brings it up, I mean, even the placement on the card, he's absolutely right. When you go second, that's the second spot at WrestleMania is a very tough spot. Probably any pay-per-view, but as a fan, I know that it's a tough spot because you're in there. WrestleMania is an all-day thing. You can't, that first match gets in, it really loops you in, but you kind of know they're giving you just something, whatever is that second match, because you got to either go to the restroom, get something to eat, if you're at a party, if you're there live, if you're, merchandise, whatever. And it was probably, I mean, imagine being said, hey, listen, you're main eventing this to, hey, it's going, hey, you're going to back cleanup today, to, we're pinch hitting for you. And hopefully or you're not even starting, and hopefully you'll pinch hit later in the game. I just think in a way it was a slap in the face of the work that not only them, but the writers. I know Jimmy Jacobs worked really hard on some stuff that they were doing, and some of the writing team. I mean, that's one of the few things they were getting right until they went for what, in my opinion, Josh, a match. And maybe the Undertaker aspect too, but Goldberg and Lesnar, to me, if they are such an attraction, they didn't need that title anyway, right?
No, I said that during the time.
Yeah, I think, we all did, yeah. Yeah, I think but I don't know, man. But I think if I were Jerry, I'd actually be upset with that too, though. Somebody that, because that's, I think there's, and then, hearing Moxley's side, and again, these are all just opinions, and we can't hang on them and call them truths, and, because there's always 3 sides to every story. And, but there are a lot of stories that are starting to match up and be similar. And I'll say this, Josh, and I want to toss it back to you after, because I want to get your thoughts on this. I do think, though, that I don't think this is a reason for fans to start dumping on WWE by any means either, because we know what we're getting from potentially an AEW or whatever wrestling promotion is your favorite out there. Progress, New Japan Pro, Ring of Honor, you know what I mean? Whether, we'll just keep going on and on and on and on. But I think we should know by now what we're getting from WWE, and it's not going to change. We know that. So if you're going to continue to watch it, knowing that it's always going to end up being Vince's say so, that we are in Vince's world, like all these, you then just stop watching. Don't complain. Stop watching. Make them feel the difference. For example, I mean, they already got my subscription, so it doesn't matter. But my daughter and I talked about it, and we're not watching the Jeddah show. We're just we're just not watching it. For personal reasons, we just have decided against it, and instead we're going to see Dark Phoenix. You don't want women to perform, we're going to go see some women kick some ass. So but that's kind of, but that doesn't mean for everybody out there now to be like, oh my god, I'm not going to watch it either. I just think these are all everybody kind of telling their story, because we are so voyeuristic now. We want to know what's behind the curtain. We want to pretend like we know more than, because these could all be works for all we know. Like Moxley and Jericho could be putting this together as a work, and they're running with it on Wade Keller and on all these other people, to where it could just be a setup for something else being brought in storyline wise. We don't know. Because I do find it quite ironic that for how critical Jericho was about Punk in his podcast, now Jericho's the king of the controversial podcast.
Yeah, and I heard Ryback talk about this with an interview he did earlier today. I was watching before you came into our little recording thing that we used for the podcast this week. He was having an interview with Ryan Said, and he's like, and it's no fault to Chris, but he has this way where he brings in certain people at certain times to get the most numbers out of his show.
Right.
And I'll give him credit for that. I'm not saying it's a bad thing or anything like that.
Yeah, it's smart business. Yeah.
But he also plays onto that, where he'll ask those questions and yada yada yada, because nothing's gonna happen to him. But and I thought Steve Austin was doing that too for a period of time when people were still listening to his show. He was really big with those controversial interviews. Anyways, I'll say
which we need those though, and I do think they're important, and let's face it, it's an absolute luxury that they're both working at the same place so that they could plan this out right around Double or Nothing, and it could, they knew they were going to get the maximum bang for their buck. Which, when you're starting, when you're launching a brand new company, that's what you need. It's all about visibility. It's all about people talking. It's all about breaking the internet, quote unquote, because that's still a term for some reason after all these years. So yeah, I don't know. I mean, but that's what I want to take out of it though, is like, listen, I'm enthralled with the creative process. And I will say this, hearing his frustrations here, it reminded me of a lot of different outlets that I used to be on doing this stuff. And we laughed about this. This is comparing apples to like Rotten Tomatoes, me being the Rotten Tomato. But when you're more of kind of like directed to be like, hey, we want to do this, versus, hey, tell me, you like I'm my own person and personality, and what you guys get on here is me, love me, hate me, feel however you want to about me. But the different just cheesy little podcasts or video shows or whatever that we did, we kind of had like a little role, and it got old and frustrating. And like whenever I did leave all of it, and was like, wow, this is fantastic. I'm enjoying wrestling again,
Mm-hmm.
So, and then granted, it's totally a different scenario. I mean, we're just little marks that are just trying to enjoy this world of universe. But
I felt the same way once I stopped working for WrestleZone.
Yeah.
Like, yeah. I didn't feel like I had to be put in this box to impress the people in that circle, Well, most people are not going to change. They're going to do what they got to do, and they got their legions of sheep that are going to buy and drool over everything that they say. Fine, that's your prerogative. When I started doing podcasting and stuff, I wanted to make sure to remind fans that it's okay to be a wrestling fan. That's what the vibe I want people to enjoy the show. You got two wrestling fans here, and we want you to feel like we're sitting next to you talking about wrestling. And we're having fun, and we're enjoying being wrestling fans. Mm-hmm. If you want to spend your entire show coming up with fabricated opinions just to get a reaction out of somebody, that's your prerogative. Well, I didn't want to be part of that, and I didn't want that to define me anymore. And just because you work at certain platforms doesn't mean you have to do the same thing those top people do there. It doesn't have to be that way.
And not only that, Josh, let's face it. I mean, there is absolutely it's all sports entertainment when it's all said and done. But
here's the problem, though. We're fans. Yeah, we're trying to play politics in a wrestling podcasting community, and that's stupid. We're not wrestlers. We've never been in the business. It's fucking stupid.
Right. So, and here's how I look at it. Like, so. There's it's all sports entertainment, but there's still the mindset of people like pro wrestling, because there is a different feel to a WWE show than any other show. Yes, it's because it's bigger, it's grand, all the grandeur that comes with it, the pageantry, and then all the stuff that people complain about, the partnerships, the endorsements, and I don't know how you can boo Make-A-Wish, but like Make-A-Wish stuff, that kind of stuff. Yeah. But so but here's where you have to look at it. The reason why what's going on right now is so great is because both companies can still succeed. Because listen, WWE's brand is not going anywhere. I mean, that's the one thing Moxley kept saying, and he's right. And that's why he kept saying that it's not the locker room. The locker room's super talented, that. But there's probably people that know that, like, listen, I need help when it comes to writing a promo. I need help when it comes to developing a character. I need help when it comes to finding my voice. Well, then if you have all the other tools, WWE might be the place for you, especially if you want to go into something after the fact. You know what I mean? If if you want to go into movies, if you want to go into acting, if you want to go into any kind of entrepreneurship where you're self-branding you or your own person, now you are becoming a celebrity yourself. WWE's platform as of right now is a better route to take than going through AEW first. You know what I mean? Now, if your dream is to be a pro wrestler, where you not only go out there and get to entertain the fans, but you get to dictate your own artistry. Right. And this is why I always say WWE is top 40. We always say this, Josh. WWE is top 40. Everything else is your alt rock channel, your heavy metal channel, where you're going to get a little bit more of the deeper cuts. You're going to get more of like the fan favorites, not the pop fit, That's what's going on right now. So, and it could all succeed, and I want it all to succeed. As a fan, you always want this too, but one doesn't make one better than the other. It's like they keep saying, it's an alternative. It's a different way of going about business rather than having one guy at the top go, "This is good shit."
Right, a couple things. I, I still have the impression in my head right now as I'm thinking about it. Can you picture him saying that when he was like shooting the stand back vignettes when he was dancing back then?
I'd rather not. to be
God
quite
damn
fair.
it, Al. Keep playing that bass. That's some good shit.
I want to hear his little the demon puppet from the Firefly Fun House. I want to
We're
drop
saving
that
that for later.
Oh, we are. Oh, we are.
All right. So here's my thing with the Moxley interview. And I talked about this last week. We got to hear Moxley's side of the story, and this is his story. And I always looked at it as case by case situations. You're saying that you appreciate the creative process behind these characters, and this that you like that aspect of the business. Me, I'm indifferent to backstage politics. I really don't care. I said this before on the show. I've been consistent about it. I want to gain that perspective by actually doing it and being part of the business and learning it for myself instead of assuming what's the right way or wrong way to go about creative decisions. Because I didn't want to be a WWE writer growing up. I wanted to be an announcer. That I've always looked at it that way from JR. If you look at the characters from the attitude era, whether the storylines were always great or whatever, he made you invested in every single aspect of the show that he was commentating during that time period, during the attitude era. And creative and this and that, it's all subjective. I've always been consistent about that. Whether people enjoy it or not, that's their prerogative.
Well, I don't mean creative is the team. We'll finish, then I'll let you know what I meant by creative.
No, I'm talking about the creative. What I'm trying to say is that, like, when I hear Moxley or I hear Dustin Rhodes and all these other people talk about, oh, it's prison and this and that, I can't say that they're wrong because obviously I never worked there and I don't know how that feels. But also looking at it from the outside, like, there's also aspects from a performer and they've done the best they can with what's given to them. It's just hard sometimes where, like, it's a week after you're out of the company, you're already made a show, and you already made an appearance in another show, and it's like the trigger word, oh, I just got out of prison, I'm set free, I'm this and that. And that's it. I feel like sometimes certain performers use that as a sympathy card. I'm not saying that was the case for Moxley.
Yeah, I was gonna say, cause Mox isn't that kind of dude. I you know what, I would listen, man.
Honestly, just for me as a wrestling fan, at the end of the day, whether I'm enjoying promos or good or bad storylines, at the end of the day, I'm just speaking for myself. I'm not saying this is right or wrong. At the end of the day, I know I'm going to get an enjoyment out of a wrestling show because I'm going to watch a wrestling match. And there's nobody on the rosters in the different brands that are in the WWE that are going to fail in that department. Everybody wants to focus on the wins and loss records or the storylines. At the end of the day, I'm entertained by the wrestling matches.
I get it, but without the story, there is no match. Without the story, the match loses all of its value. And that's the important part. When your character, and that when we go indifferent, and that's we never talk about the characters we don't like or the characters we're indifferent about, just because we don't want to seem like we're either palling on anybody or being petty like the rest of the internet or anything like that. But let's not get it twisted. It is the story is what makes the match. You can't, we just said it earlier. Just saying Brock Lesnar versus Goldberg did nothing for WWE. It didn't do a damn thing. Nobody enjoyed it. I think maybe I enjoyed it a little more than what I thought I would, but really, I could have done, and that's not any disrespect to either guy. There just wasn't any. I think most of us who watch professional wrestling, sports entertainment, whether we realize it or not, when we look back, we always think of those moments that made us fall in love with wrestling. And what those moments are, whether in ring or outside the ring, is the story that was told. But the story in ring is always set up by the story told outside of the ring first. Mm-hmm. So that's where, for me, I do think that these men and women, especially the men and women that are the best at what they do, They know their character and they know how to read a crowd, and they know better, absolutely better than someone like me that could apply for a job, get a writer's job, and pitch lines all day and run back and forth from offices. And Josh, my rebuttal would only be this: say your next door neighbor, say something's going on at your neighbor's house. Someone comes over and goes, "Yo, don't go in there. I heard there's a dude with a chainsaw." Another person comes over and goes, "Yo, don't go in there. I heard there's a dude with a chainsaw." Well, another person comes over and goes, "Yo, don't go over there. I know that's a chainsaw." And you're like, "Yeah, but that's my neighbor, man. I mean, I know there ain't no dude in there with a chainsaw." And then you go over there and there's a motherfucker with a chainsaw in there. You know what I mean? Like, and we've heard the same story now from so many different people. Like, I understand it is absolutely Jon Moxley's side of a story that there's probably multiple, a very complex story, but Moxley to me isn't a guy that, and I think that's why he said that, like, he was kind of going over the podcast for a while in his head, for like a month on like what he wanted to say, so that he wasn't coming off as whining and he wasn't trying to bury WWE. I think what he was doing was saying there's a problem with a process when there's 20 people trying to tell one person that can figure it out themselves better than any of the 20 people there, because they understand themselves and the character and the 10 years they spent in the indies trying to get the WWE, versus some jackass they hired off the street that all they did was used to write cartoons. You know what I mean? That would feel like mental prison for me. Josh, you're an artist. You're an absolute artist. What if someone told you, "Here you go, kid. Here's your sheets. This is what you're playing for the rest of your life. You don't get to create your own music. You're playing this every night for the next 5 years until we decide we're going to change your character out." Would that not feel like artistic prison to you?
Yeah.
There you go.
Mm-hmm. One last thing before we move on, because we got a lot of stuff for this week of wrestling that we got to get into. My last takeaway for this podcast was, and I'm going to touch on this from the Wade Keller side of things, from his interview with him. Like, we already hit most of the stuff that went on with Jericho's thing.
Right, yeah.
But Rich Swann did a recent interview. Let me scratch that. I'll save it for another show. But
no, toss it out there. No, toss it out there. We don't do that here. We keep it 100. Toss it out there. It ain't gonna start no beef or nothing like that with anybody.
Hey, live podcasting. I just had a mental block. Go figure, right?
Right.
Rich Swann just had an interview where he talked about where he didn't have creative issues when he was there at the show. And for me, the more that I keep hearing more of these interviews, it's just going to be hard for me to figure out which one did I take seriously, which stories do I take with a grain of salt.
Well, here would be my question. Rich Swann, for the most part, was into 205 Live.
Yeah.
You don't hear as much complaining from NXT. You don't hear as much complaining from NXT UK. You don't hear as much complaining from guys in the 205 Live division. It's the people that have been there for years and years and years and years on the main roster that were highly successful in the independent scene, that were signed by WWE because of their personalities, and then their personalities got micromanaged. I guess that's where I see it from. It'd be like me getting hired by a company and a company going, "Hey, so here's who you are now." And it's like, wait, okay, cool. But you know that going in, though, too. That's the thing. You know that going into WWE. So in a way, you can't fault. You can't. It's one of those double-edged swords in a way. You know what I mean? Like, because you can't.
All right.
You can't fault anyone for going to try and change the culture and try and making it better. But at the same time, you know what you're getting into when you and that's not a bad thing. I'm not burying WWE. I'm just burying that. One man controls all of creativity, maybe, allegedly. Well, just allegedly.
What I'm trying to say is it's different for a guy that's be like, okay, you're only on this brand and this is the only thing you're going to do, as opposed to a guy who came in with buzz outside the company, did his thing in SCW, and the 6 or 7 years that he was in WWE, he was either a top guy or around that area this entire time. Like, it's different from comparing what Ty Dillinger was doing from what Dean Ambrose got to do in his WWE run. I get it. I heard it.
What defines success, though? Let me ask this, Josh. What defines success? Titles and this match, or this, or enjoying what you do?
I understand what you're saying with like, oh, I didn't want to do the goofy stuff all the time though, but it's always one thing when you're leaving a company and you don't talk about the stuff you actually did. Like Dean
because
Ambrose for about a year and a half was the main guy on SmackDown.
but when you
That's not nothing. Where he was playing with James Ellsworth or doing goofy stuff, I get it. He was creatively dissatisfied. Fine, I understand that. You want to do your own thing. You want to do it on your own terms. That's cool. But also, don't act like you didn't have the opportunities to do other stuff and have the opportunities that other performers on the roster wish they could even have the opportunity to do so.
see, I feel like he was just more, he felt more confined because to me, Ambrose doesn't seem like a guy that cares about money. He doesn't seem like a guy that cares about championships. I'm sorry, Moxley, rather. I said Ambrose. I'm slipping. I'm sorry, guys. But Moxley doesn't seem like a guy. He seems like a guy that to me, all he cares about is his wife, his mental well-being. And you know what? That's fucking admirable as hell. You know, so I guess in a weird way for me, dude, I totally, maybe it's because I empathize and sympathize with the common man a lot, because that was the whole thing with Punk. It was the same thing with Ambrose. It's just Vince doesn't understand the common man and why that there is an attraction in sports entertainment to the common man, and how he can, you know, like how he said he was basically doing like a John McClane like Die Hard type, you know, style character. And then how many podcasts was I calling him prop boy? And not because I didn't like him as a performer, but because you knew that that's what he was being forced to do. You know, so in a way, you kind of got to, I give him credit for all those years of being asked to be the clown of the show, kind of, in a way, regardless of positioning in the card. I mean, that's great to be the top guy, but do you really think Cena, sans the money, liked coming out every week and talking about poopy this and poop farts that? And like, I doubt it. You know what I mean? Creatively, John Cena probably has some of these same feelings. It just will never hear it come out of his mouth.
Well, speaking of things that came out of John Cena's mouth recently, John Cena recently did an interview where he talked about the days of having a Stone Cold or The Rock being the main guy in your company is going away, because the draw of the company is the brand WWE. It's not certain performers anymore.
I agree with that.
And it got to this point where WWE is able to have two major television deals with two different networks for their two different Raw and SmackDown brands, and still doing shows out of countries in different countries and all this other stuff that they're doing outside the wrestling stuff. What do you think about that? Does a wrestling company need one or two guys to be the main attractions of the show?
No. I don't think so. In my opinion, ain't worth anything. You know what I mean? Like, but here's why I say that. You typically need your anchors. You know, I think having like anchors is important. Maybe like 4 pillars, men and women's division. You absolutely need those. That's important. But you know, I think it's becoming more apparent, and even just where you hear about like Kenny Omega talk about how, you know, like you mentioned last week, talking about how he uses the V trigger like you think he would use it in a video game, you know, or different things like that. Mm-hmm. We are really starting to look at you know, the WWE or AEW. These universes are like comic books. Like they're it's live action comic book theater that's played out in front of us, right? So, I don't know, man. My whole I guess frustrations with with, I guess, like maybe I think Cena's onto something. We'll say that, because I think you need, I think he's right. It is more about the brand, but that can be a scary thing though too, because you do want to make sure, I feel like, you have those people. When UFC didn't have that Ronda Rousey or that Chuck Liddell or that even George St. Pierre or that Brock Lesnar, you know, UFC kind of goes down a little bit, you know? So I do think you need to have that, you know, maybe some pillars that you can put out there. But at the same time, it is more like a Broadway show in like the Marvel universe and in the DC universe, and it kind of has more of a comic book flair now to it than it ever has. the entertainment side, you know. So when it's more entertainment, yeah, you're gonna have your lead actors, you're gonna have your, you know, in each division, but and your great supporting cast. But I think it's more about having like a couple pillars versus just one man and one woman.
Right. Let's talk about NXT TakeOver 25 that just went down this past Saturday in Bridgeport, Connecticut. By the way, it's pretty cool. They announced that they're having their next TakeOver special in Cardiff. It's at the end of August, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, the irony is not lost on me on what day that is, by the way.
Yeah. The first takeover they did for the UK brand was in Blackpool, I think, in January, something like that. I'm happy that these guys for the NXT and ladies for the NXT UK brand are having another major special like that, because they're awesome, man. I love watching their show each week. They bring different people I've never seen perform before each week, and they got some badass talent over there. But let's talk about the domestic version of NXT. TakeOver 25 went down on Saturday. I really enjoyed the show from top to bottom. The first match with Riddle and Roderick Strong was freaking awesome. I wasn't expecting to have as much time as they did the beginning part of that match, but the latter match they had, congrats to the Street Profits for becoming the NXT Tag Team Champions.
I like that.
There was some really nasty spots in that match. Man, they try to make that one dude, Gunner from TNA, look like the Incredible Hulk. That dude just kept getting up and taking everything. That guy.
Yeah, seriously. It was a good match. That was a very, very exciting match.
Velveteen Dream and Tyler Breeze was pretty good too. Velveteen Dream retained his NXT North American Championship. Shayna Baszler beat Io Shirai. I really thought we were this close from it actually happening, but nope. You can't bet against bet against the Queen of Spades yet.
Where's she at right now in comparison to Asuka's title reign?
I think she's far ahead as far as I'm concerned.
Because what Asuka was like, what?
Asuka had an undefeated streak,
and then the title streak was like 500 some days or something, right?
Yeah, something like that. I just feel Baszler has been more dominant because, like, yeah, she lost her title once, but just when you think she's gonna lose, she's just that. Like, she's really like the real life character that she's playing. Like,
I forgot there was a break in her title reign. That's right, because she played flip flop with Kairi Sane real quick, didn't she? Okay. Never mind. I retract my last statement. Retract it.
Delete.
No. Retract. No, real quick. I love that Matt Hardy's wearing his version 1 shirt. I love that he's doing. I forgot to mention that last week. I want to slip that in. Has nothing to do with anything that we're talking about, but it's awesome. Okay, go ahead, Josh.
Speaking of t-shirts, really quick, did you see the one with Iconic showing everybody their t-shirt?
No.
You gotta look it up on YouTube. It's pretty funny.
Okay.
Iconic.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah, we had a chick came in the tattoo shop yesterday that looked exactly like Regina George. Yep, I wasn't sure if it was Rachel McAdams or not, but
or Alexa Bliss on Monday Night Raw, but we'll get to that when we get to that.
And SmackDown too.
Yeah.
Good week for the goddess. Going back to NXT real quick, I really thought Shayna and Io did a really good job in that match, and then
it was a great match.
Finally, a rematch from NXT TakeOver New York, Johnny Gargano and Adam Cole. Shenanigans. Actually, no shenanigans. Adam Cole won the match straight up. A lot of different parts of the match where they had targets and body parts and this and that. And the match went over 35 minutes, I think, something like that.
Mm-hmm.
The last time I looked at it. But really quick, I want to give a shout out to Morrow and Nigel McGuinness because I thought they did a great job, especially during that match. Mauro Ranallo is my favorite announcer right now.
Yeah,
guys, I have like a top 3 list right now. It's Mauro, Corey Graves, and Kevin Kelly right now, and then maybe Nigel McGuinness would be 4th.
Yeah, for me it's always Graves, and then there's a drop off. Mauro's probably my 2nd though. to be quite honest. But it goes like Graves, Sterling, SJK, Corey Graves. You know what I mean? I just use different aliases.
I heard an interesting term yesterday at the UK show. Zach Gibson called Vic Joseph, the commentator for NXT UK, he called him a whelk. I thought it was very proper to call somebody a snail. That's pretty funny.
That's great. That's absolutely brilliant.
Back to the match. Cole and Gargano was awesome. It's probably my favorite NXT match this year so far. It was insane, man.
You know what? And it was a really good match. Not only because like the fans were super hot this entire match. I mean, they were big into this match, but this really was kind of the main event you would want for when you're billing it as TakeOver 25, right?
Right.
You give your main event over 30 minutes. You let them go out. I mean, and you all the false finish stuff like that. I know it drives some people nuts. I was on the edge of my seat. I mean, I popped several times for different spots in this match. I'm a big Adam Cole fan, so that's no surprise that I was gonna be happy pop at the end of this. So, but I did. I thought that was one of the I don't want to say one of the because NXT always delivers, but this match to me stands out. But we could say that about a lot of them though. Ciampa, Gargano, how many times have they stood out? Like
right.
That is something there is. Man, I
the match was fitting for it being the 25th takeover.
You know what I have to say? Oh, it was fantastic. And you know what I have to say about Adam Cole versus Gargano, and especially Adam Cole being able to win, taking home the NXT championship.
Yeah,
that's good shit. This is good shit.
How about Britt Baker? I don't know why the dirt sheets were making a big deal that Britt Baker was in the front row of the show. She's in a relationship with Adam Cole. I mean,
people that bored.
She's not allowed to go to a WWE show because she works for AEW.
That's
come on.
Yeah, it's not. The world isn't as petty as people want it to be.
Mm-hmm.
Because that's what that is. That's what's petty where petty isn't there.
The one thing that sucks about Twitter especially when you're not following dirt sheet accounts anymore, is when people retweet this stuff and I see headlines of different things and I'm like, God, man, like, really, is that important to write an article about?
Wait, but not to mention that, like a lot of these men and women worked with each other on the indies. So, like, you have people in there like Deonna Purrazzo that has worked with Britt in other places, or you have Adam Cole has worked with Marty Scurll in different places. So, but you can't, or and vice versa. So, like, I mean, if Marty was there, it wouldn't have been like, oh my God, Marty's. I mean. Obviously, I'm sure with his contract's a little stricter, but so that he probably couldn't sit there. But, why would it be a big deal if he was there to support his significant other? I think we need to get past that. Yes, it's different, but this is wrestling in 2019, right? It's not going to be that surprising to see. Now, WWE has more control over their wrestlers. I understand that, but I think isn't that another beautiful thing about AEW? You get to go support your significant other in what might be his most not the defining moment, but to this point, I mean, he's you keep hitting plateau after plateau after plateau. That's right now maybe one of the highlights of his career, and she gets to spend that moment with him. That's a great thing, man. That's a great thing. Quit being petty, people. Quit looking too deep into things. Jesus.
The Bebe era. Yes.
Oh, it's gonna be awesome. It's gonna be awesome.
All right. Before we bring in AJ through the eyes of the 9-year-old,
already we got to talk Raw and SmackDown real quick.
Yeah, that's what we're gonna do right now. I know you're not gonna watch Super Showdown tomorrow, but I wanted to get your thoughts on the stuff they've been doing with Dolph Ziggler and Kofi Kingston, because I think it's very interesting that they take in a mid-card rivalry that was going on during that PG era. And they're making it like they're bringing back the flashbacks of even Kofi mentioned it that he's lost the IC title, he's lost the US title to Dolph Ziggler. Those two have fought each other a lot of times.
Yeah, that was interesting. I actually like that about the promo.
Like, how do you feel about that program so far, even if it's a one-off thing?
Yeah, I mean, listen, Ziggler's been awesome for it. You know, I mean, I think he's holding his own. It's obvious that the past 2 weeks have been booked or have been written strictly for this Jetta, program. And I think that's why. Listen, I'll be a critic for a change. I've noticed the past couple weeks I haven't enjoyed Raw and SmackDown as much, but it's only because I'm slowly realizing that. With a couple of exceptions, Seth Rollins. I mean, there's a lot of guys on the roster. I can go down the list, but I've enjoyed the stories that they've been telling with the women's division more than the stories they've been telling with the men's division. I've noticed that they're really focusing on Taker, Goldberg, and Kofi, Ziggler, and I know that's what you really asked me about, but everything else, they're obviously booking just for this event tomorrow or whenever you listen to this, if it already happened or whatever. So. But about Ziggler, no, I think Ziggler, when you're given the ball, you run with it, and he's doing exactly that. He's hitting it out of the park. I think Kofi's doing the same exact thing. This is one of the matches that even though I'm not watching it, it's going to be an awesome match.
I think they've done some solid stuff building up for the next one that's following this Jetta show tomorrow, the Stomping Grounds pay-per-view. They announced that Roman's going to fight Drew McIntyre at this show. And then we found out on SmackDown that Bayley will be defending her title against Alexa Bliss for the SmackDown Women's title. Alexa Bliss won a triple threat match this week with Charlotte and Carmella, which was a really good match. If you guys haven't had a chance to watch SmackDown this week, go check out that match. It was really, really good. A lot of people are up in arms about this whole wild card rule thing and this and that. And I'm at the point that I mentioned this before the week of WrestleMania. I remember it like yesterday when I had when Jonathan Hood had me on his show. I was like, sooner or later this brand split is gonna end. You could call it a wild card rule. You could add different layers to it. The brand split is ending before this Fox thing comes around.
Right.
It just is. There's no way that USA Network is going to sit there and be like, oh, you're just going to put your top guys on SmackDown and not have anything for us on the USA Network. That's why the wild card rule is there. That's all it is. It's window dressing for the brand split to come to an end. That's all it is. And everybody's losing their mind. How can a Raw superstar fight a SmackDown Women's star for the SmackDown Women's title? Follow the tea leaves, folks. Why do you think Shane McMahon is on Raw and SmackDown each week?
Well, and you know what, Josh, just what I spoke about earlier about having pillars, right? Not one person, maybe not, but having your main pillars and then the supporting cast around them. I think you have talent that is on specific to Raw and SmackDown, and they know that, but then you have your pillars that not every week, but on any given week, you might be on both shows. And I think it's only going to be certain talent. Obviously, it's going to tie into storylines. But yeah, you're absolutely right, man. This is how they have a brand split without having a brand split. You know what I mean? This is it's that Jedi mind trick that Moxley talked about that we always knew that that WWE does. It's the smoke and mirrors of like, hey, don't look behind the curtain, but it's right in front of you. You know what I mean? Like the curtain's wide open. They're like, don't look behind it. It's just wide open.
The only one thing that not that it bothered me or anything, I was just indifferent to it. They had Braun and Lashley had their arm wrestling contest, but the thing where Lashley put chalk in Braun's eye, I thought that was okay.
Old school. I miss a good chalk in the eye. It was nice.
You miss Mr. Fuji?
Yeah, it was nice to see some old school tricks being used, old school parlor tricks. I like that.
I'm going to get a lot of heat from this, but I don't care. I think Shane McMahon's the best heel on the show right now. Besides Bearcore, this dude is killing it, man.
Oh, yeah. No, granted. And you know what? I wish there wasn't that whole best in the world attachment because it's just you're getting the CM Punk chance back. And listen, and you guys know I love CM Punk.
Or Brother Carter, man.
I just don't. It's when I'm like, let sleeping dogs lie. You know what I mean? Let sleeping dogs lie because like it's. Oh my God.
CM Punk. He put this thing trolling the wrestling fans on his Instagram story yesterday. He's had like different details of his signing to AEW, but it ended up being a faux pas. It was just a whole troll job the entire day yesterday on Instagram. It was pretty funny.
That's real funny. It's I don't know. I'm gonna keep my mouth shut about that.
Yeah.
We'll carry on. I'm not in business to speculate anymore, but I have my own opinions.
I don't know. I still have some underlying, maybe just wishful hopes that he fights Shane McMahon at Survivor Series. But again,
Nah.
that's wishful thinking because Survivor Series is going to be here this year.
Right, yeah, but I don't think he'd ever go back to WWE. But we all know there's absolutely a home for him. So
yeah. Going back to this week of shows, let's see what else really stood out to me. Man, the stuff they're doing with Ricochet and Cesaro is pretty cool.
like Cesaro's new music. I like it.
Cesaro is pretty good.
Yeah, I like it. I know it's not everyone's cup of tea, but I dig it.
It's gonna be something where they gotta figure out what they're gonna do with Ricochet and Cesaro, maybe Robert Roode, because Rey Mysterio relinquished the U.S. title on Raw this Monday. And I know not a lot of people are into Rey Mysterio like they used to be back in the day, but I thought his segment with Samoa Joe was really good this week, especially getting heat and just how that whole segment went down. I thought that was pretty cool. It wasn't long. It didn't overstay its welcome, but I thought it was effective too. So Samoa Joe is, again, the U.S. champion right now.
I thought the fun fact for me was it actually just, I was taken aback a little bit that was the first time Rey won the United States Championship.
Yep.
That actually just, I don't know how that got lost in the shuffle with me, but that's just another unfortunate situation where you win a title, for the first time you have to relinquish it because of an injury,
Yeah, that sucks.
Yeah, man. That's the part of the business that you never like to see.
Didn't Zack Ryder get injured one time when he won a title?
I don't know.
No,
Ziggler.
This what happened. Zack Ryder won at WrestleMania, and then the next night he lost the title because Maurice came back.
Yes,
that was the first time we saw Zack Ryder's dad on TV.
Correct.
Deltoids on top of deltoids. Okay. I know we gotta get to the Fun House because man, that stuff was awesome.
Yeah, because we got to talk about that in two different sections because we might get into it we're gonna definitely get into it with Through the Eyes of a 9-Year-Old, but I have some comments about it before we get to that. So go ahead, Josh.
Two more things. I really the stuff with Brock Lesnar beating down Seth Rollins the way he did, and it was like a whole hook to get people to watch the show. Oh. You should have seen one dirt sheet rider. I'm not going to mention his name, but he was so flabbergasted that Brock Lesnar was going to cash in his briefcase on Monday. I knew it was a ruse by the time Paul Heyman dropped that promo on Friday. Like, the big thing, Brock Lesnar's being forced to cash in his Money in the Bank contract due to the McMahons. I knew that wasn't going to happen, but guess what? He had everybody bait and switch. He got heat. The beatdown he did with Seth Rollins with the steel chair was pretty good. Corbin got some licks in there as well because he's fighting Rollins tomorrow for the Universal title. I think that's going to be a pretty solid match. But the reason I'm bringing up Brock Lesnar right now, everybody thinks it's a foregone conclusion that he's going to be the Universal Champion. I think he's cashing in during the Kofi and Dolph Ziggler match. That's my idea.
I could see that. I don't know, where they're going to go. Maybe he doesn't cash in at all. Although I hate that I'm saying this, but I will just because of, and I am trying to keep my personal feelings about this whole Jeddah show completely out of it. And I'm trying to stay as objective as possible, but I'll admit this entire show has been based around what one man wants. And that's the Crown Prince over there.
Yep.
And if they basically just toss him a Money in the Bank cash in just to toss him, just to say, I'm not as comfortable with this little business relationship as me. I don't know. Maybe it is what it is. It is what it is. And I don't.
It's not perfect. It's
not perfect, and it's I feel like it would just be it would almost be kissing the ring to have Brock cash in over there.
I heard
not for any other, not because it's outside of the United States. Listen, I'd love to see Brock cash in. And, I just feel like this show is so dictated around one man's viewpoint. It would almost they'd be doing it just to appease. And that an audience of one is never good.
I know they're flying Renee Young out there to call the show. I think they flew out in Italian too, which I think is pretty cool. I don't know.
Well, at least they're.
But
it would be nice if they could compete, though.
What about Triple H and Randy Orton? What did you think about that segment?
It was cool. It was cool. I liked it. Yeah, I dug it. It was funny. It was cool to see Orton get a little dig in there too. You know what I mean? But there really isn't much that they have to build, right, with Orton and
Right.
Triple H. I think by now we know what we're getting. We know what got us here. So this is one of those where you don't really need that much build up for it. You know?
Yeah, there's my favorite part of Raw. I was dying laughing. I know people are 50-50 on the 24/7 title. I mean, it's cool. You feel how you want to feel about it, but the look on R-Truth's face when Cesaro pulled the table out of the ring, I was dying laughing, man.
Yeah.
Even him doing the Old Town Road, that's like the new popular song, right? With that rapper and Billy Ray Cyrus. Like he did a version of that, but talking about the 24/7 title. Truth is killing it. Shout out to Drake Maverick for what he's doing with his making posters and stuff. Jinder Mahal's getting involved in it. I get a kick out of it, man. It's good comic relief. Though I would say the one thing that bummed me out this week, I'm pretty sure the guys will be on next week, but I wanted more of Daniel Bryan and Eric Rowan.
Yeah, I probably left off.
Daniel Bryan.
Right, he was probably left off because they're not traveling. Well, I don't know about Rowan, but Daniel Bryan I don't think's traveling, right?
Well, they had a backstage interview that they recorded with Daniel Bryan and Rowan. You guys are going to hear it you guys already heard it in the beginning part of the show. It's pretty funny. You gotta make sure you gotta listen to that later on. It's like 2 minutes. Bryan and Rowan just make fun of heavy machinery, and then they come in and they do their part too. So it's pretty funny. I like Bryan and Rowan as a tag team. I just wish I see them more on shows.
Yes, agreed.
And Aleister Black did a good job in his promo again.
Oh, fantastic. Yeah. Fantastic. Quick things that I want to bring up because we're going to talk about the Firefly Fun House before we bring my daughter in, so then she can also talk about it because I have a joke to tell that obviously I don't think she needs to hear. But things from Raw and SmackDown that I pulled out. Number one. So let me just so we're all on the same page. Alexa Bliss is Regina George and Nikki Cross is Katie Heron, right? Yes. I mean, legit pulling lines basically damn near from Mean Girls. So I guess Corey Graves might be right in that storyline. They are having him do everything these days. And then number two, listen, Ms. Lacey Evans, if you're gonna start quoting Joker. Granted, I love if you want to call Becky Lynch Joker, she can go from the scorned bride over to if you want her to be the wild card Joker. I'm all for it. But let's leave Joker out of your lackluster promos right now with the Southern accent and the whole let's stop.
Is it hitting too close to home?
No, it was just like so we're just all gonna rip Joker quotes now. That's everyone's.
No, I'm not talking about Joker. I'm talking about the Southern accent.
Oh yeah, I lived in the South for a couple of years. It's horrible. Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely.
Oh, God. I thought Charlotte and Lacey were put in a rough spot on Monday. This is another thing I was referencing earlier about taking shots. Take a shot every time Charlotte comes out during a segment involving champions.
And listen, it's not for nothing. It looked like Lacey might have something went a little wrong with that woman's right she tossed because I don't know if maybe it was just an excellent sell job by Charlotte or whatever, but Charlotte went after her pretty stiff. It looked like right from the gate.
Here's my thing, and you guys know us. We're not here to trash matches or anything like that.
No.
But everybody's like making the big deal. Oh, this is the worst match of the year. Blah 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 blah. Lacey's not ready. This and that. And here's my thing. The reason they're having the match is because Lacey and Charlotte got into it on last week's SmackDown. My only thing I would have done different was have them fight on SmackDown this week. That's all. If you wanted Lacey to have a match with somebody, have her fight Naomi or somebody else that was back there.
Right. Right.
You can't bring out Ruby Riott because she just had double surgery, something like that.
Oh, did she really?
Yeah.
How long is she out for?
I think 2 months or something like that.
Well, that's not too. I mean, it still sucks, but that's not too bad. Hopefully, that everything goes good. Then it's only 2 months because that's I thought you were gonna say it was like 9 months or like longer, like 6 months or something. I was like, oh no, like no.
By the way, how fortunate are we to have the goddess and God's greatest creation in the same building at the same time? God bless the water for him.
I wasn't there, so probably not fortunate for me.
Good.
Yeah, but
Corey Grace got a triple threat, man. He had Carmella, he had Mandy Rose, and Alexa Bliss at the same time.
Stop it, Saxton. Gee. So real quick, because we'll talk about the Bray Wyatt stuff, but this is all I'm going to say. I'd love to, and I want to get your take before we know. I'm going to mute it. Then we're going to get my daughter in here so we can do that segment. But what kind of acid trip flashback was I having during this segment the other night? Like, what was going on? Like, I know like a lot of like synthetic, like I know that's like the new trend. Like everyone's like back on like doing acid again and like all this synthetic stuff that's like coming back in waves for some whatever reason. But Jesus, I felt like I was having a flashback from my days years ago when I was I was like, oh no, what'd I do? Like it's like. So whatever they're doing with Bray is fantastic. I just felt like the need to mention that. Thanks for giving me a weird flashback from my early 20s. It was a bizarre little trip down memory lane. But yeah, dude, the Vince McMahon with the devil horns and everything, and Huskus, and dude, this is good. This is good. And there is a very, and I keep forgetting to mention this aspect. I mean, he has a Cape Fear. If you've seen the movie Cape Fear, which people still, it's generationally, I think that's. People are missing out on a fantastic movie, the original and the De Niro reboot, but right. He's absolutely has elements of that character in him as well.
Well, here's my thing from that segment. I thought they were tapping into every perception about Vince McMahon. I thought they were using the Fun House to respond to the Moxley interview. Basically, that's all it was. It was, okay, we had this perception that Vince doesn't know how to write for Bray. What would Bray do when he was out this entire time when he just come back and dance? So they had the dancing thing. But I love this part about it. They still had the moments where he had the split personality even while he was dancing.
Yes.
You notice that little like creepy part in the back? Like,
right.
It was really short, but
are they taping these on a weekly basis though, or did they tape them all in one bulk sitting and they were just slowly? See, that's the thing with the irony and the happenstance and would of this episode coming out the week of the Moxley thing is just so, but listen, life sometimes is about happenstance, The only time I don't believe in happenstance is crime and relationships.
you get what I was saying though, right? Where they're tapping into Vince's personalities. I think didn't Bryce say something about somebody being a bully?
Oh yeah. I'm pretty sure he said something about being a bully. Well, obviously because Huskus had to lose some weight because Huskus wasn't taking good care of himself.
Right.
But it made me think about like how the dancing part was how to me what it made me feel like, and maybe it is fans' perception because this is what I thought it was more of that was Brodus in a way. It was almost like Brodus Clay.
I just love the lead and tease before they did the actual intro for the segment. Like he just pops up and he has a serious look on his face and he just talks about exercise and then you get into the intro for the Fun House. I thought that was well done.
Man, WWE, next time you're gonna trigger a flashback from my hippie days, man, you gotta warn me.
Anything could happen, pal.
It's like, jeez, I thought White Rabbit was with me again. I was like, God damn, what is going on? All right, it's enough of that. Hold on, let me mute the mic and then go ahead. Make with some plugs while I get the.
All right. As always, as you guys are listening to the podcast each week, remember to leave us a 4 or 5-star rating on Apple Podcasts. We do appreciate the support for every single one of you who do listen to the show every single week. One important thing before we get through the odds and Nigel, let's hear a couple comments from podcasts that you can also listen to right here on Anchor. All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the show. Hope you got that ad out of the way. Don't forget, this podcast is brought to you by Spotify. That's pretty cool. We got 2 dopes, one from Chicago, one from Pittsburgh, and we're sponsored by Spotify. Who would figure that? That's pretty cool, right?
Not me. Certainly not me.
Welcome to Through the Eyes of a 9-Year-Old, the segment that's taking over the wrestling podcasting world. Let's welcome the one and only AJ Daley. What's going on, AJ?
Hello. I'm doing good. I'm just ready to talk about some wrestling.
You were saying last week that you were working at McDonald's, right?
Yes.
Where does McDonald's character come from? Like, I hate to break kayfabe so soon.
I started working at McDonald's. What's the problem?
I'm just wondering where this character's. We need to know more about this character. That I guess we'll find out over the weeks, but I don't know. I mean, it's not quite Isaac Yankem DDS, but they've never had a fast food worker. I don't think, right? So.
All right, AJ, I know per ritual for our segments, you like to have questions first before we get to your topic.
Yes.
Beforehand, let me ask you this: if you had, I'm bringing this up because this Ryan Sam put out this tweet that they're making this year's WWE video game be similar to the NFL 100 commercial that came out before Super Bowl. You know what I'm talking about, Adam?
I do not know.
Wait,
where it had a bunch of yeah, I think I saw it once. My dad was like, "Oh, this is the greatest thing ever," and I was like, "Yeah."
They had all the NFL legends and current players go against each other and like tackle each other. This really funny ad, but they said that WWE is going to do a similar thing with Stone Cold, Ric Flair, Hulk Hogan, and somebody else. I don't know. I don't know what they're doing with this commercial. It's going to be insane. Anyways. Who would you like to be on the cover of this year's WWE 2K20?
I don't know, to be honest. I feel like I don't know. I really don't know.
Oh, I know.
I think maybe they would do Becky, but I'm not sure about that.
That should be the first female to do it, right?
She would be the first female to grace the cover, yeah. As solo, not as,
Yeah.
Well, Ronda was a special attraction. She wasn't the main one, right? Last year?
Correct.
Yeah. Correct. She was with Rey Mysterio.
Right. AJ, what did you enjoy from NXT TakeOver this past weekend? What was your favorite match?
My favorite match was probably the Shayna Baszler Io Shirai match.
All right, let me ask you this as a young fan, because there's a lot of older fans who are kind of tired of Shayna Baszler being the champion. Are you a Shayna Baszler fan or no?
I am. I like mainly all of the women in NXT. So, and yeah, I am a Shayna fan. But like, it's just like whenever Asuka was holding the title for so long.
And you're a big Asuka fan.
Yeah. Just like whenever Asuka was holding it for so long.
So do you get bored when your favorites hold a title for too long?
No, not really. I mean, it depends on if it goes on for years. But
yeah, because I'll admit, even with Punk's 400, it ended with 434, right? That's where it ended.
434.
I still felt like that was too long.
Yeah.
There was a point where I felt like he could have dropped it and got it back or something, or I don't know.
Yeah.
It's called jumping the shark.
I think New Day had like a year and a half title reign as tag team champions, right? Something like that.
Something like that. Yeah. Well, I guess I shouldn't. Punk's title reign wasn't long if they would have finished it at WrestleMania, because then it makes sense. But otherwise, it was a long title run to just end it one of your secondary pay-per-views.
Yeah.
All right. I ran out of questions. Anything you want to ask, brother?
All right, AJ. So let's see. So now,
hello.
Oh, geez. What did you think about Bray Wyatt's Firefly Fun House this week?
I don't know what happened. This is weird. I don't know.
This is one that went way over your head, didn't
it? It was the special edition one.
Yeah.
And it had them getting the pig exercise, so they did a weird dance where you gotta pull your pants up I don't know what it was.
And then you do the Macho Man dance or whatever it was, right? You do the something. Well, it wasn't the Macho Man dance, but it was the
something type of dance.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I just couldn't stop laughing with the Wyatt Jim T-shirt.
Yeah.
Is it wrong that was stuck in my head for a while?
And why is Vince McMahon wearing devil ears now? And why is he a doll? Is there a witch somewhere? Did Abby the witch just turn him into a doll?
I don't know. He's frozen on the Edge and Christian show.
Yeah.
He's a doll in the Fun House. He's kind of everywhere.
Yeah, I don't know what's going on. He's memes and gifts. I mean, on Giphy, he's just gifts.
As he should be.
Yeah.
Do you think Edge and Christian are involved with this? Because these skits are very similar to the lot of stuff they did. It's either them or the writers that they had for that particular show. They're being part of this.
I don't know. Whoever's doing this, I love. I don't know. I'm having fun with it. Personally. I don't know. AJ, are you still into it as much as you were?
Yeah, I love it. But what is going on?
I think that's the fun of it, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I was asking what is going on when I was watching it the other night too, but I think probably for different reasons. But
I mean, I guess it is called the Firefly Fun House. I guess it is. The fun is not knowing what the heck is going on.
You just got to let him in.
Yep.
He's like a vampire.
I guess.
Or like in Cape Fear.
Yeah, I guess.
I can't think of the character's name. That's why I just keep saying Cape Fear. I'm sorry, guys.
Do you think Braun Strowman will visit the Fun House?
Probably, if Bray annoys him.
Hey, it could be a family reunion. That's all.
Yeah. I'm trying to think. So, out of some of the things we saw, what did you think about? Because I know you're a big Nikki Cross fan.
Yeah.
And you loved what they were doing with her in NXT, and when they initially brought her up to Raw and SmackDown.
Yeah.
I think like everyone else out there, because you've made a comment to me about it, they're kind of making her. They changed her makeup. They're kind of forcing her to wear makeup.
Yeah.
Do you like this little pairing with her and Alexa Bliss? Because I know you're a big Alexa Bliss fan too.
Yeah, but it just didn't make that much sense at first. I know the joke that you keep making about it.
It's Mean Girls, yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah.
She's the new girl, Katie. She's Katie Heron. Nikki Cross is Katie Heron, and then you have it's
Alexa Bliss is Regina George.
Yeah, I just wanted I want there to be like a dream sequence where she gets hit by a bus and Corey Graves goes, "Oh my god!" Like it's like a thing where like Graves is having a dream and he like snaps out of it. It would be the greatest thing. That's a payoff for me. Are you kidding me?
And it'll probably happen once Corey Graves hears this.
I doubt that's ever on that Illusions of Grandeur in the podcast world.
I forgot the name of the characters, but are the Iconics the other two girls that hang out with Regina George?
No, I don't know who they're. Let's see, I don't know who they're. Oh man, I'm drawing a blank.
Right. I really think like Billie Kay could pull off the character that Amanda Seyfried played in that movie. Is it the Airhead one?
Yeah. I'm so mad that I can't think of what's her name's dad created the toaster strudel.
Yeah, the toaster strudel. But I don't like toaster strudels. I'm sorry.
Neither do I.
Okay, so I guess my big thing with Nikki Cross though is do you think that they're going to keep her with this more bubbly kind of lovable kind of character, or do you want? Because even when she was more, I guess crazier, I'm using air quotes here. She was still liked by the fans, So do you want her to kind of continue to be
the insane person?
Yes.
Yeah, I want her to still be like how she was with Sanity.
Okay. So, which I think could happen. This could happen on the road. I think that probably just testing some waters out with this. I think.
Yeah.
I have noticed that though. I mean, I don't know if because they definitely made Nikki Cross switch up her makeup going to the main roster.
Yep.
And that's one thing I don't like because hers was distinctive for the character. It made sense. It worked. Sometimes I think they get a little too handsy with that kind of stuff too.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna do my Jim. I would want to do my Jim Cornette impression right now, but it's not suitable for AJ's ears right now.
Yeah.
It involves Kevin Dunn. It's a long story.
Oh yeah, well yeah. That makes sense. Yep.
AJ, any things you want to get off your chest before you head off this week?
Brock Party.
You're all about the Brock party.
Rock Party. And no, he did not cash in, did he? That's right, because you can never force Brock Lesnar to do anything.
So
Right.
now that the
He
cat's
forces himself.
yeah, that's true. Heyman said it for years. Brock Lesnar does what Brock Lesnar wants to do, and only Brock
Exactly.
Lesnar does. How do you feel now that they've torn the curtain down? Do you like that? Because you're a big fan of both. Do you like now that they're, like when Seth's getting carried out, and we know it's the storyline that they're carrying him out on the stretcher and stuff, gets into the ambulance, but they have Becky go with him. You knew where I was going with that because you started giggling beforehand.
Yeah.
So do you like that they're breaking down that barrier now and kind of,
Yes.
you do?
Yeah.
Okay, you don't think that's killing the business or
No,
it doesn't
why
make
would
it
it?
any... Well...
It's like saying that because right, Candice LeRae is Johnny Gargano's girlfriend or wife. Okay, whatever. That's like saying that that if Gargano gets put on a stretch chair, Candice LeRae can't follow him.
Right. Yeah, I get it.
Yeah,
Absolutely, I get it.
That's if you're saying that Becky can't come out with Rollins to the ambulance, and that's like saying Candice LeRae can't do it with Gargano in NXT.
Yeah, I mean, I guess it's just it's weird for us right now, right? At least for me, it's still weird to see because it's not like that whole...
Why is it weird?
Well, I think it's because WWE used to dodge relationships until it became just so common that they knew that they had to embrace it, and it's good that they embraced it. But
Yeah.
I think it's because they dodged the Nikki Bella, and they kept Nikki Bella and John Cena so separate in storylines for so long. Now when you see two big names like that have been dating, and all of a sudden everybody knows that they're dating, it's just like, wow, they really are kind of tearing for it. They just don't care. They're even in court. It's Seth didn't have to go to the hospital, but they're still incorporating Becky in it just to add that extra layer of realism to blend, or to blur the lines of reality. And I think it's cool, but there's some people who think it's killing the business. It's ruining wrestling.
Maybe they knew that Cena and Nikki were going to be together forever.
Listen, nobody that got married in a wrestling facility capacity, they don't last.
Wait. So this segment of the show all of a sudden turned into celebrity gossip for high schoolers. Good to know.
Yeah, we just turned into every dirt sheet that we talk about. Oh,
yeah, good to know.
Thanks for calling us out on that one. Well, touche.
AJ, any final words?
Every final word is always work at McDonald's. Always.
It's a great message to send the future of America.
Bye.
Thank you, AJ.
Oh, man.
AJ Daley.
So there's that, ladies and gentlemen.
Through the eyes of a 9-year-old. I'm still laughing because I remember when Cena proposed to Nikki at WrestleMania. I was like, "Yep, this thing ain't gonna make it by the next WrestleMania." And go figure. That's what happened.
Cause I got married at WrestleMania. Speaking from experience, it doesn't work.
Oh God. All right. A couple more things before we wrap up this podcast. I want to send a shout out to Jay-Z. He became the first hip hop artist to become a billionaire. I think that's pretty cool.
Didn't Dre? I thought Dre was before.
No, Jay-Z is.
When Dre sold Beats to Apple, he didn't hit the billion mark.
I'm not sure. I don't have that number. I'm not gonna put rumor and innuendo. I'm not sure.
Yeah, that might be considered something else though, because that might be more entrepreneurship versus actual. Well, but Jay got a lot of his is entrepreneurship though too. I don't know. Yeah, that's something good to look into. Congrats. No, it's good for Jay-Z though. Good. Hustle pays off, man.
Shout out to Hove. What else I wanted to say? Man, I keep getting bummed out. Everybody keeps glowing and giving glowing praise to the Aladdin movie and all these other movies I wanted to see. I'm like, damn, man, why can't my schedule slow down a little bit? Maybe see some of these movies.
Listen,
like, everybody's like, oh man, Jon John Wick 3 was freaking awesome. Like, yeah, I know, because I love the first 2 movies. I'm not surprised that the third one would be good too.
It's kind of the same blueprint for each John Wick movie.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
You can't not like one and dislike the others. It's either you're all in with John Wick or you're not.
All right, my brother. Any final words before we head out this week?
No. You know what? It's end of the month. Glow comes back. We're gonna be talking about that end of the month. Again, happy Pride Month. Anybody celebrating out there, friends, family members, any kind of like that. Let's celebrate inclusion, not just this month, every month. But this is the month to do it. So let your freak flag fly and just be yourself. Everybody, be your, Jesus, for Christ's sakes, quit trying to be avatars that you are behind a keyboard. But no, man. I mean, listen. I think this was another perfect podcast. And I say that as sarcastically and deadpan as humanly possible.
Right.
But no, man, listen, anyone listening, thanks. We appreciate it. It's amazing the numbers that we've been getting lately. I don't know why you guys listen to us. So thank you. I'm sure you guys are listening for my daughter. So, and again, thank you. But it's been really cool to see the numbers grow and grow and grow over the weeks. And again, I always say it, there's 80 million things you can be doing. So even taking, 5, 10, 15 minutes out to spend some time with us, it's greatly, greatly appreciated. Love you guys.
Make sure to follow myself and Adam on Instagram at the Hoots Podcast. I'm on Twitter as well if you want to chat with me there. Just don't be a nimrod. That's all I ask. I know that's a request that probably will fall on deaf ears, but I work in the media. It's a double-edged sword of my career that you got to be on social media, even though I don't want to. Anyways.
Yeah, I know. I'm going to have to for work pretty soon too. And it's, such is life.
I wish I could be like Thanos and just clench my fists and all this social media crap could go away for good.
That would have been the best way to end Endgame. Would have been someone just snapped and all of a sudden you're right, everything went away. We were back to AIM.
Oh God.
Because then people would still have to go out to see people.
Right, exactly. You have to have face-to-face conversations.
Mm-hmm. Just to
man.
make sure you weren't talking to some 60-year-old dude in his underwear.
Right. This is the charm of this show, man, and our brotherhood, man. We always kept these 100 with each other, and I love you, man.
You too, brother. Yeah, listen, like I said, it was a great episode today. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I had fun today because it was nice not having to be stuck within, hey, this just happened inside the ring. It was fun to kind of talk about, fair or foul. And again, I'm non-objective when it comes to the Moxley stuff because, again, I think WWE is different. But I do want to, I guess, in closing, like with everything, I want to praise Moxley for that because, again, it's when you want to be an artist and and you feel as though you're being shackled, there absolutely is that freedom. When you're stuck in, it's funny. And Josh, I'll leave it at this. Every wrestling fan always sits out there and says, I'm in an abusive relationship with WWE. No, you weren't. But you know what? Maybe Jon Moxley mentally was, because you can only go to somebody so many times and say, I don't like this. I'm unhappy. I don't like this. I'm unhappy. I'm happy. Josh, believe me, when a weight is lifted off your shoulders that quick, it can make a world of difference. Life changes. You'd be surprised. That's why I mentioned what I did last week. So about, with mental health, don't be afraid to make changes in your life. Sometimes that's what you need to do is get toxicity out of your life. And if that's better for Moxley, just more power to him. I've recently gone through the same thing and came out the better man. And it looks like so did he. So, and that's not a slight on WWE. It's not. It's just, I love Jon Moxley. It's good to see somebody who has such a passion for not only getting a paycheck, but really entertaining fans, really wanting to be that connector, not having somebody connect for him. It's admirable. And regardless of whatever he said on any podcast, you still got to give him some respect for that.
Right. Speaking of podcasts, again, shout out to the good brother Ant. He's gonna have a lot of weight.
Yeah, Ant, congrats again, brother, dude. Congrats all over the place.
Shout out to Rand for their send off is gonna be this Saturday, so go check out their show. It's one of the good shows are going away, but I'm happy for the brother. He's gonna enjoy life and be a dad, and I think that's cool. He's gonna do his own thing, which is
Appreciate
awesome.
the little things. You have to appreciate the little things, man. Life moves at you fast.
I gotta keep you guys updated when we get the next edition of the Thoughts of Jericho, because he thinks he's this era's version of Damian Sandow. So he wants to enlighten he's the intellectual savior of the wrestling masses. I think that's what he said the other day.
He better work on that 10 o'clock shadow then.
Yeah, that's a good point. Well, we'll see what happens with Brock Hart. But really quick, again, thank you guys for checking out the show. As always, leave us a 4 or 5 star rating to help expand the reach of the show. Thanks for everybody that has checked out the show. Over 25,000 listeners since January. It was pretty freaking awesome. So shout out to all of you. And make sure to tell a friend about the show. We do a lot of things different. It's not just a wrestling podcast. We talk about a lot of other stuff. And if we made your day better, then we did our jobs right. So thank you guys for the support. Make sure to go check out TakeOver. Enjoy Dominion coming up this Sunday. Okada.
Go see Dark Phoenix.
Yeah, go see Dark Phoenix. And we'll recap what went down in Jeddah next week and get ready for the Stomping Ground pay-per-view. So for the Cloud Prince, I'm Joshie. Thank you guys so much for checking out episode 159 of the Hoots podcast. We'll talk to you guys next week. Peace.